Caitlin Clark comes back and wins FIBA qualifier MVP. While all the other players are staying fresh, staying in the groove, going down.
Look closely at the gold medals around their necks. The story being told to the public isn't the full truth. Team USA's victory over Spain, an 84-70 final, is being framed as a triumph of veteran leadership. But beneath that narrative lies a far more controversial interpretation. According to this perspective, the game exposed deeper tensions within women's basketball, where decisions on the court may have been influenced by internal politics rather than pure competition. The argument suggests that instead of fully utilizing their most dynamic offensive weapon, the coaching staff made a shocking choice, limiting Caitlin Clark's role and even deploying her out of position at power forward. This move, critics claim, neutralized her playmaking ability and forced her into physically demanding defensive matchups, draining her energy and reducing her offensive impact. As a result, the U.S. offense reportedly stagnated, losing its pace and fluidity while relying heavily on other players who struggle with efficiency, highlighted by costly turnovers and predictable half-court sets. Despite these limitations, Clark's overall impact remained undeniable. Even while being underutilized, she dominated key statistical categories across the tournament, leading in points, assists, and efficiency metrics, ultimately earning MVP honors. This outcome, supporters argue, directly contradicts a narrative pushed by critics and exposes a disconnect between performance and perception. The fallout extended beyond the court, igniting intense reactions across social media and fan communities, with debates over fairness, bias, and recognition reaching a boiling point. Meanwhile, off-court developments added another layer of intrigue, as reports emerge of major negotiations concluding behind closed doors in New York, signaling a significant shift in the league's business landscape. Altogether, the situation paints a picture not just a championship game, but of a sport at a crossroads where talent, politics, and power are colliding in ways that could reshape its future.
Let's take a look. Number 1 in points, number 1 in assists, number 1 in true shooting percentage, number 1 in plus minus, number 1 in 2-point field goal.
To understand the full weight of this moment, you have to look at the timing. After weeks of intense, highly publicized tension that threatened to disrupt one of the most anticipated seasons in women's basketball history, the WNBA and its Players Association suddenly reached a verbal agreement just 51 days before the league's 30th season tip-off. The abrupt resolution raises a critical question. Why did both sides, after such a prolonged and seemingly uncompromising standoff, decide to settle at the last moment? According to this interpretation, the turning point came from a shift in perceived leverage. The league's owners, closely watching the global impact of the FIBA tournament and the MVP recognition of Caitlin Clark, saw undeniable evidence of her drawing power, both in television ratings and overall attention to the sport. In contrast, the viewership tied to more established, veteran-led narratives appeared far less impactful. From this perspective, the owners recognized that the financial momentum of the league was being driven disproportionately by one emerging superstar, fundamentally changing the balance of power in negotiations. The Players Association had pushed aggressively, reportedly seeking a larger share of revenue and positioning themselves as equal stakeholders in the league's growth. While they ultimately secured a strong deal, featuring significant salary increases, improved professional standards, and expanded player benefits, the argument suggests that much of the economic growth they leveraged was fueled by the surge in popularity tied to Clark's presence. This creates a striking irony. Many of the same veterans who had previously criticized or minimized her influence were now benefiting from the financial ecosystem her rise helped accelerate. In the end, the agreement represents both a victory and a revelation. It highlights the evolving business dynamics of women's basketball, where star power, media visibility, and market forces are becoming just as influential as on-court performance. Beneath the celebratory headlines and corporate language, the prolonged negotiation may have reflected a deeper reality, one where the future of the league is being reshaped by a new generation of players and the undeniable economic gravity they bring.
Keep those people on threads away from me. After a prolonged labor battle, the WNBA and WNBA Players Association reached a verbal agreement on the terms of a new collective bargaining agreement early Wednesday, just 51 days before the league's 30th season is set to tip off. Quote, the progress made in these discussions marks a transformative step forward for
Listen closely to what veteran forward Alysha Clark is really saying, because it reveals the deeper reality behind these negotiations. From her perspective, it's the veteran players, those nearing the end of their careers, who feel the stakes the most. For them, this wasn't just another contract dispute. It was their final opportunity to secure a life-changing financial deal before retirement. That urgency, according to this narrative, is what pushed negotiations to the brink and dragged them into the final moments before the season. The argument suggests that these established players were willing to risk delaying the 2026 season in order to maximize immediate gains, particularly through aggressive revenue-sharing demands. Meanwhile, younger players, those still building their careers, were more focused on getting back on the court and capitalizing on the sport's growing momentum. This contrast highlights a ruthless but familiar business dynamic: short-term urgency versus long-term opportunity. In the end, the veterans achieved a major financial win, but the irony remains that much of the league's recent economic surge has been tied to the rise of Caitlin-Clark, a player many of them had previously criticized. Even with verbal agreement in place, however, the situation is far from settled. A verbal deal still needs to be formalized, voted on, and officially ratified, and the clock is ticking. The league now faces a massive logistical crunch. Expansion plans involving new teams in Portland and Toronto are looming. The collegiate draft is scheduled. And perhaps most chaotic of all, free agency is about to open for over 100 players. Because the previous agreement was opted out of, a huge portion of the league's talent pool is suddenly available, leaving general managers unable to make moves until the new rules are finalized. Once the deal is ratified, the WNBA is likely heading into one of the most intense free agency periods in its history. Teams will be rapidly reshaped, contracts will skyrocket, and front offices will be forced into aggressive bidding wars. In that context, Clark's dominant international performance becomes more than just a headline. It acts as a signal to teams like the Indiana FIBA that the balance of power in the league is shifting, and those who adapt fastest will define the next era of women's basketball.
This is Alysha Clark. What we just accomplished is going to change the lives of so many players, Clark said. We got you the best houses that they're going to pay for. And speaking from experience, players like me are going to be the ones that I think feel it the most. Yeah, the players on their way out? Yeah, that's why it's taking so long. That's why it's been taking so long, because old players like
Amber Cox and Kelly Krauskopf, the mastermind behind the Indiana Fever, are facing a truly unprecedented moment. They hold what many believe is the most powerful offensive engine in modern basketball in Caitlin-Clark. And with the most chaotic free agency period in league history approaching, the margin for error is zero. The blueprint to build around her is actually simple, but it demands ruthless discipline. This isn't about stacking big names or appeasing veteran egos. It's about constructing a system. They need rim-running bigs who can set hard screens and thrive in transition, plus elite perimeter defenders who can switch, space the floor, and knock down open threes when defenses collapse. Any move toward ball-dominant veterans or isolation-heavy scorers risks completely disrupting Clark's tempo-driven, high-speed offensive flow. If the front office prioritizes reputation over fit, they could sabotage their own dynasty before it even begins. But if they commit fully to a role-based roster built around pace, spacing, and efficiency, the result becomes nearly unguardable. A system where Clark's playmaking turns every possession into a mathematical advantage. Now, zooming out, the league itself has survived a massive storm. The WNBA avoided a potential season collapse, secured a landmark labor agreement, and set the stage for a new financial era. Veterans walked away with the contract they pushed for, ownership locked in stability from major media deals, and Clark has returned from international play with MVP honors, further cementing her global impact. Everything is now aligned for what could be the most intense and heavily analyzed season in league history. All eyes are on Indiana. The clock is ticking, and the decisions made in this moment won't just shape a roster. They could define the entire future of women's basketball.